जनों का और सभी सहभागियों का हम फिर एक बार स्वागत करते हैं। इस 7 दिवसीय कार्यक्रम का विषय है इंस्टीट्यूशनल बेंचमार्किंग ऑफ बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस। आप सभी को ज्ञात है कि रोजाना शाम 4 बजे से लेकर 6 बजे तक शिक्षा क्षेत्र से जुड़े अनेक विद्वान और विदुषियों से हमारा साक्षात्कार होने वाला है। आप सभी को ज्ञात है नए आयामों से प्रस्तुत होने वाली शिक्षा सेवाएं और नीतियों का प्रमुख केंद्र है गुणवत्ता और पहचान। विश्वविद्यालय अनुदान आयोग और राष्ट्रीय मूल्यांकन और प्रत्यायन परिषद विश्वविद्यालय और उच्च शिक्षा केंद्र की ओर से सभी आयामों को एक गुणात्मक और स्तर प्राप्त हो, यही कामना है। So without taking much of your time, I request our Vice Principal of Shri Mallikarjun and Shri Chetan Manju Desai College, welcome one and all.
Respected chief guest of today's function, unfortunately, due to problem, we could not take in Radhika madam. I'm sorry for that. Dr. Ganesh Hegde, NAC advisor and keynote speaker of today's program. Dr. Manoj Kamath, principal of Shri Mallikarjun College, Kankon. Dr. N.N. Sawant, principal of Chogle College, Madgaon. Respected all the principals of our partner institutes, resource persons, participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great privilege to welcome the galaxy of educationists from all over India. We are going through a very difficult time due to COVID-19. No other generation in the history of mankind has had this experience what we are experiencing today. Our teaching community is highly active during lockdown period. Every day, thousands of teachers are attending webinars and upgrading their skills. Such participation was not possible during normal days. I am happy to bring to your notice that about 5,000 people have registered for our FDP program, but due to technical problem, all people could not be taken in on Zoom. Though this faculty development program, with this faculty development program, we would like to set a benchmark because about 10 institutes have come together and made this particular achievement possible. We have invited about 28 experts from different parts of India, which also includes NAC and other people who are involved in the NAC processes. I, on behalf of IQAC cell of Jnana Prabodhini Mandal, Shri Mallikarjun College and Shri Chetan Manju Desai College, Kankon, Srimati Parvati Bai Chogle College, Madgaon, Anjuman Khairul Islam, Pune College, Pune, Sophia Girls College, Ajmer, KLE's Lingaraj College, Belgavi, Karnataka, Sangamner Nagar Palika and Malpani College, Sangamner, South Asian Institute for Advanced Research and Development, HVPS Jhunjhunwala College, Ghatkopar West, Mumbai, Thorat College, Sangamner, Maharashtra, and Dhananjay Rao Gadgil College, Satara. On their behalf, I welcome all the resource persons, the chief guest, the keynote speaker, all the heads of the institutes and participants to this particular program. I wish everyone happy learning. Thank you one and all. Over to Dr. Rupa Chari.
Thank you, sir, for your welcome address. Now I request Dr. Manoj Kamath, principal of Shri Mallikarjun and Shri Chetan Manju Desai College, to brief about 7-day faculty development program.
Good afternoon and good evening to all of you. I'm very sorry because of the technical glitches we were able to we were held up for some time and then we are starting after a delay of 30 minutes. Nonetheless, this is an opportunity for us to be together and listen to each other, the international discourses on this particular issue. Friends, once again, let me take this opportunity on behalf of Shri Mallikarjun College and other 10 institutions who have hosted this particular event. And this is a unique opportunity for all of us in this pandemic to learn something from each other. The title of this faculty development program, the 7-day faculty development program, is Benchmarking of Best Practices. We are in the year where we learn from each other. You remember, friends, there was once upon a time where we said that each one of us have some distinctive measures, distinctive characteristics which make us different from each other because we have our unique set of problems and we work out in a unique cocoon. But then time has come when NAC expects some qualitative characteristics from all of us to be displayed and developed by every year. At the end of every year, show our performance. Time is for us, time is right for us to learn from each other. Learn not only about the processes, but learn about performances, learn about how to plan, learn about how to implement the plans, and learn about doing something better compared to the last year. It is with that particular spirit of learning, that particular spirit of sharing, that particular spirit of caring that we have organized this faculty development program. And this faculty development program aims to bring out the best things from us, within us, by learning from each other. Friends, our IQAC department, IQAC cell has taken utmost care to select the best out of the best among these 10 institutions, so that we are able to share all, not only the 7 best practices, but also look into the links where we could join together to collaborate. This faculty development is the first attempt to collaborate with 10 institutions around the country. Probably otherwise we wouldn't have met if not this particular COVID disruption. But technology has made our game simple, at the same time a little more complicated, because we are encountered with all these glitches. Nothing stops us. Nothing stops the country from growing. Nothing stops no environment stops us from learning. This is a unique opportunity we have taken to learn from each other, and I welcome each one of you who have taken time from your busy schedule to join us and listen to the experts. Spread over 7 days, spread over almost 28 experts and different themes. I'm sure that at the end of this faculty development program, each one of us would take home some learning, so that we are able to implement even those minute things in our institution. The ultimate goal, of course, is not to compete, but the ultimate goal is to cooperate. Ultimate game is to collaborate, to learn from each other, and that is what the world demands. So once again, to all of you who are making ardent efforts at your institutional level for institutional excellence, I wish you all the best. To all of you who have come here for learning, caring, and sharing, I wish you all the best. And the technical team who is striving hard to connect us together, I must appreciate your efforts, especially Dr. Nadav, Mr. Vivit Pavaskar there, and all our host institutions, specifically my good friend and mentor, Dr. Ganesh Hegde from NEC, who has been waiting all this way and is ready to share his expertise with us. Sir, I also welcome all the speakers of the day. I also welcome all the dignitaries whom I don't want to name at this minute, just in order to be just take care of the brevity of this particular situation. Once again, to all of you who have joined us in the evening, I wish you all the best. Happy learning, happy caring, and happy sharing. Thank you, Dr. Nadav. Thank you, Dr. Rupa, and thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much, sir.
बहुत ही संक्षिप्त और ऊर्जा संदेश के साथ प्राचार्य डॉक्टर मनोज कामत जी ने इस 7 दिवसीय फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम के बारे में हमें ज्ञात करवाया है। आज हमें प्रमुख वक्ता के रूप में डॉक्टर गणेश हेगड़े सर, एडवाइजर नैक बेंगलोर, मार्गदर्शन करेंगे। औपचारिकता को न्याय देते हुए हम AKIs पूना कॉलेज ऑफ आर्ट्स, कॉमर्स एंड साइंस कैंप पूना के प्राचार्य डॉक्टर अनवर शेख सर जी से विनम्र निवेदन करते हैं, आप आदरणीय डॉक्टर गणेश हेगड़े जी के परिचय से इस फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम की शुभकामनाएं।
The principal of Pune College, may I request sir introduce our keynote speaker.
Dr. Aftab Anwar.
Sir,
yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Sir, please unmute.
Chief guest, Dr. Ganesh Anand Hegde, Dr. Manoj Kamath, Principal DPM Sri Mallikarjun and Sri Chetan Manju Desai College, Kanakuna, Goa, and all principals, distinguished guests, and participants gathered here for the faculty development program on institutional benchmarking of best practices. It is a great honor for me to introduce a man with a lot of charm and a talent, our chief guest, Dr. Ganesh Anant Hegde sir. Dr. Ganesh Anant Hegde, advisor NAC Bangalore, is an eminent personality who has committed himself to the sphere of higher education. Ganesh Hegde sir holds a doctorate degree in mass communication and journalism from University of Mysore. Dr. Ganesh Hegde is an eminent educationist with a strong heritage of professional expertise. Earlier, he has served as a publication executive in the Department of Science and Technology, Vigyan Prasar, Government of India, New Delhi. In 1996, Ganesh Hegde sir joined the NAC and is presently its advisor, contributing to the council with unflinching devotion. He was instrumental in bringing out the manuals, guidelines, and publications in the initial years of NAC until today. Dr. Ganesh Hegde sir has organized many workshops on assessment and accreditation at national level for principals and faculty members. He has conducted several assessors training programs at NAC for vice chancellors, professors, and principals who will visit the higher education institutions at NAC peer team. Dr. Ganesh Hegde sir has co-authored 2 books, one on IQAC and other is state-wise analysis of Punjab. He has recently written a book on information communication technology and higher education. He has co-authored the review of 66 academic staff colleges of UGC across the nation, and the report has been submitted to the University Grant Commission. एक अच्छे इंसान की पहचान उसके व्यक्तित्व से होती है. डॉक्टर गणेश हेगड़े सर, आपका व्यक्तित्व काफी प्रभावशाली है, जिसमें अलग सा आकर्षण है. Dr. Hegde sir is a very simple person, full of humbleness and humility. He would meet people in a very humble manner. That is his great quality. 3 times I got an opportunity to listen to Dr. Ganesh Hegde sir in various seminars and teachers' conventions. He always helps a lot and answers the queries of the participants and motivates people to work and guide in an appropriate and suitable manner. He is capable, confident, and fluent, never at loss of words, having presence of mind while replying. He has a quality that can effect powerful positive change in life of a principal of a college or a person who is an IQAC in charge or anyone who is working in the IQAC committee for NAC. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Ganesh Hegde sir. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Ganesh Hegde sir. Thank you very much. Over to the coordinator.
We are requesting Dr. Ganesh Hegde sir ji to unmute himself kindly.
Just I unmuted.
Yes, sir.
Kindly make me to the presenter so that I will share the slide, sir. Kindly make me the presenter so that I will share the screen with you, sir.
Co-host sir, Papa Nudo. You don't make him co-host, we cannot share them here.
Good. Oh, sure. Yes.
Nadab Saab,
We have made
kindly make me the presenter. Let us come.
We have made you the co-host, so now we can go.
Yes. You are able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. Now we would like you to go into the full screen mode, sir.
Yes, sir. 2 seconds. Come. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Thanks to the Dr. Aftab Saab for introducing me to the audience. And I also take the opportunity to thank the Mallikarjun College for making this webinar, the benchmarking and best practices of the higher education institutions, which undergoes the process of the accreditation. आमच्या गोवांच्या सभी प्राध्यापक गण को गणेश जी का नमस्कार. अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुमिलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. My respect to all the teachers who are viewing this webinar and also joined this webinar. More than the 499 people are today viewing this webinar, and on behalf of the NAC, I welcome each participant for this webinar. Our director, Professor S.C. Sharma ji, has conveyed the special message to the Mallikarjun College for making this webinar a successful one and identifying this theme as benchmarking and best practices for the faculty development program. I also joined with the Dr. Manoj Kamath ji for all the faculty members for making this webinar. Dr. Nadaf and Dr. Pavaskar sir, who has been in the technical team and heading all the technical glitches which is there. They are looking for the benefit of the people. Now, as the institutions goes for the accreditation, I feel that 3 C are more important. The first C is the collaboration, and second C is the cooperation, and third C is the coordination. The coordination which comes from the IQAC coordinator, cooperation which comes from the management, and collaboration which comes from the leadership of the principals who is heading the institute. I just put forward you the 2 things. One is, whenever the NAC accreditation comes into the picture, it looks for me like a running race. For the institutions which they have not done some of the things which 4 years back, they wanted to do something and they wanted to achieve the success. The 400 into 400 meter relay, which comes as a byproduct of this one, IQAC, AQAR, and several other things will be there. Faculty development program is also one of the things. But how you will develop your own thing for making this running of that one through the DVV process, through the student satisfaction survey, to the faculty development program, understanding the standard operating procedure. Finally, it is a success. How the success comes to your thing, it depends upon how you are looking. What I feel today is that one, today I will be speaking to you on the core values of the NAC. There are 5 core values are there which I will be speaking to you, and I will just share with you that how exactly the NAC has made this type of the core values which comes in rescue for the institutions for achieving the success. While going through the NAC process, you must be observed that the me is more important. I is important. I means the myself, and how the coordinator and the faculty member and the principal and the management, how exactly you all will be working for the development of the institution. It depends upon the research, it depends upon the student support progression, it depends upon the institutional ambience, it also depends upon the IQAC coordinator, and practically just to share with you that it depends upon the different person's perspective. Now, in the NAC criteria, there are several key indicators are there, and the matrices are there. Quantitative and qualitative metrics are there, which you will be seeing at a later stage. All the speakers will be talking. Today, what I would like to share with you about the around 15 minutes, just to share with you how exactly The NAC is looking this type of the core values on the learning exercise, what we call as teaching, learning and evaluation, research, innovations and extension, infrastructure and learning resources, student support and progression, governance and leadership and management, and institutional values and best practices. The core values, how it happens, I will just share with you with the next slide. When I go to the next slide. Today we are having the COVID-19 situation where students and the parents are looking for that, how exactly my ward will be taken care. My request to all the teachers is that during this COVID-19 situation, kindly keep the abreast of the faculty member and the students. Their psychological counseling is more important, their physical fitness is more important. So kindly give some value addition and kindly call them that these are the few things which you can do in the institutional things. Kindly be in touch with the students, parents and the other stakeholders so that the community engagement is more important. How you contact with the people and how you will taking care of those people is more important. Reaching the students through the new way of communication. It may be WhatsApp, it may be the mobile, or it may be the email, or it may be the webinar. Whatever may be the way of the communication has to be come to the rescue of the people. That means the understanding the psychological impact is more important. देश में higher education में Ministry of Human Resource Development is having Unnat Bharat Abhiyan. I request the colleges to look into that, how exactly you can do it. Together, inspiring passion for teaching should be the slogan for the teachers. Quality today, excelling tomorrow should be the slogan for the teachers. Now, I will come to the 5 core values of the NAC. The first core value of the NAC talks about the contributing to the national development. HEI is having a remarkable capability and capacity to adopt the changes at the same time pursue the goals of the objectives that are having set forth for themselves. That means the institutions, access, equity, and the challenges will be there. It may be rural college, it may be urban college, or it may be the college may be there in the Rajasthan, it may be the college is there in Assam, it may be the small state like Goa, there may be a small college of the government college in Konkan will be there. So how exactly the institutions are looking for their objective and the goal is more important. Contributing the national development has always been the goal of the higher education institution. The goal of the higher education is the communication skill enhancement and the skill enhancement. The role of the HEI is to be significant in enhancing the human resources with the capacity building, capability building, individuals, and cater to the needs of the economy and society and the country as a whole, thereby contributing to the development of the nation. Development of the nation depends upon the education, particularly on the higher education of the country. Now, if you look into the national development, I just would like to put forth, as I belongs to the higher education institution evaluation, the body which is called the NAC, I just would like to put forth you, there are few questions which comes as the byproduct of that one. What is that one? The number of books written and the chapter edited, published by the papers in the national and international journal. That means the teachers need to publish the papers in the national and international journals. Number of functional MOUs with the national and international institutes like universities, industries, cooperative houses during the last 5 years. That means the idea behind is to get the 5-year data for this type of the question. Average percentage of the students qualifying in the state, national and international levels like JAM, CLAT, GATE and civil services, and also the number of awards and medals, outstanding performance in the sports and cultural activities, university level, state level, and also the international level. That means the institutions need to look into that, how exactly the national development is happening. The last question on the criteria 7, which talks about the institutional values. Institution celebrates the organizational, national and international commemorative days. This may come as a national development or it may come as a value education. So whatever may be the way you are thinking, see, the NAC is looking the questions in a different way. What I would like to share with you that you can add more to the questions here. Because of the paucity of the time and the space, I kept the less number of the metrics here. Suppose if you look into the metrics, in the second core value is the fostering the global competencies among the students. Development of the skilled human resources of the high caliber is important. You may be the college is having the commerce, the college may be having the art, science, commerce, or college may be social work, college may be the engineering. So providing the human resource of the high caliber, that means your engineer should be good, your chartered accountant should be good, your BCom graduate should be good. How you should be good in the skill and the communication, it depends upon you to think about it. Preparing the students to achieve the core competency like the communicative skill, there's a skill development, you need to look into that one. Preparing the students to achieve the core competency of the student level by networking with the industry, by collaborating with the industry and cooperating with the other colleges, you will be having. So faculty exchange program may be done, student exchange program can be done. So based on these things, you can be able to do several things. What actually the NAC and the government of India is looking. Government of India is looking, world of competent and learning persons should be come out from the college, and also world of skilled work. At the end of the next 3 to 4 years down the line, the world has to look about the young generation of the Indian to come to the skilled labor. Suppose if we can do the production of the skilled labor with a lot of knowledge and the skill, I think the India will be in the richest in the world. Now in the second core value, I just put forward you for the skill development program. For example, capacity building of skill enhancement initiative taken by the institution, including the following. It may be soft skill, it may be language communication skill, it may be the yoga, physical fitness and health and hygiene, or it may be the ICT enabled computing skills. You may have the add-on program, you may have the certificate program, or you may be within the program, you will be having some courses. So depending upon that one, you can look into it. Average percentage of the courses that include experiential learning through the project-based learning, internship. So these are some of the questions which NAC is asking, and you can correlate to the second core value, fostering the global competencies. Percentage of students undertaking the project, whether 2% of the student or whether it is a 55% of the students are undertaking the project. So depending upon that one, you will be able to make the different things. What I request the institution to look into that, employability lies with the intersection of the IQ, EQ and AQ. That means aspirational quotient. Aspirational quotient can be enhanced through the intervention by the faculty and also the alumni. If the alumni comes to your college in the first year when the new students batches come out and can tell what I am today is because of the college, then you will be able to see the changes in the students' mind. Inculcating the value student among the students, skill development crucial to the success of the student in the job market. It may be the English language, or it may be the Konkani, or it may be the Hindi. If you are speaking Hindi, please speak good Hindi. आपका हिंदी इतना अच्छा होना चाहिए जो सुनने वाले को और सुनाना चाहिए, तो ऐसा आपका हिंदी होना चाहिए. So job market and the skill development happens because of the core competency of the student, and it may be the discipline or it may be the time thing. So you need to shoulder the responsibility by the desirable value among the students. You can also inculcate the core universal values like truth, righteous conduct, and also the cooperation, mutual understanding by the faculty member and the student. I would like to correlate this core value with the 1.3.1 and 7.1.3 and 7.1.9. Suppose if you look into the 1.3.1, it talks about the institution integrates cross-cutting issues relevant to the professional ethics, gender, and the human values. 7.1.3 talks about the institution of the management with the following degradable and non-degradable waste management. So value system will be there. Suppose if your institution should be plastic free, how you will be able to do that depends upon that one. Biodegradable waste management, recycling system, and water harvesting, solid waste management, sensitization of the students with the employees of the institution contributing to the values and the righteous conduct. When the January 31st, if you are observing the Matrice Day, and August 15th, if you are making the Swatantra Dinotsav, or January 26th, you may be having the Ganatantra Divas. But Gandhi Jayanti is also another thing. Ambedkar Jayanti is also another thing. So all human values we can put forth with the different type of the activities which you are doing in the institution. In one of the institutions, somebody was talking, every educated person may not be rich, but almost every educated person has a better access for the job and a way out of poverty. So education is a fundamental solution for the poverty. Quality education has the power to transform the societies in a single generation. That means a person who is from the lowest of the lowest cadre of the access to the education can change the world. Now, if you look into the fourth core value, promoting the use of technology. Today we are using the technology of the webinar for to reach all the type of the things. Traditional methods of delivering is very much necessary, and keeping the pace with the developments of the other spheres of the human endeavor is more important. Enriching the learning experience of the students, providing the state-of-the-art educational technologies. It may be studio, or it may be the laptop, or it may be anything which may be the technology oriented, and ICT enabled classroom is another thing. What I would like to share with you here in this the core value, I would like to connect with our questions which NAC is asking. Suppose for example 4.3.1, institution frequency updates its IT facilities including Wi-Fi, student to computer ratio. So the student institution has the subscription for e-resources, e-journal, e-Shodh Sindhu, Shodh Ganga membership, e-books, databases, remote access to the resources, and also the bandwidth in the internet connectivities also makes a lot of difference. How the institutions are doing, that is the thing which you have to look into it. Now, quest for excellence is the last what to call core value. The contributing to the nation building with the development of the student means the institution may look into the demonstrating to the centers of excellence. That may be departmental level, IQAC level. You have to identify good people. For example, just to share with you, suppose if the chemistry department is having a good research paper in the Scopus and the Web of Science, and how can we promote to become one patent from the college? Then to have one patent from the college is the very difficult. If you are having one patent in the college also, it makes a lot of difference. Demonstrating the research work at the higher level is a quest for the excellence. And the quest for excellence does not mean that only research. It may be the extension, it may be the governance, or it may be the infrastructural learning resources. And excellence can happen through the cut across from the curricular aspect to the best practices. Quest for excellence could start with the assessment even earlier by the establishment of the steering committee by the 12 activities can keep the 12 months as busy as possible, and the life should be busy. And if you are having the physically fit, mentally alert should be the slogan for the IQAC. I feel that having the physical fitness during the COVID-19 situation is more important. Mentally alert is also more important. Psychological counseling and academic counseling for the student, and mentally keeping the alert by the faculty member is also more important for the benefit of the students and community of the college. Now, what I would like to share with the last slide from you is that स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गो ब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। सभी लोगों को भलाई शक्तिशाली नेताओं का द्वारा कानून और न्याय के साथ हो। सभी दिव्यांगों और विद्वांजनों को साथ सफलता बनी रहे और सारा संसार सुखी रहे, यही मैं आशा करता हूं। आपके लिए धन्यवाद। थैंक यू वेरी मच। धन्यवाद। ओवर टू डॉक्टर नदाफ। मैं तहे दिल से डॉक्टर आफ्ताब जी को धन्यवाद देता हूं। आप अपना कॉलेज के लिए बहुत अच्छा बनाया है, आप ऐसे ही बनाते रहे और पूना कॉलेज अच्छा तरह से करे। सो IQAC and the AQR, it is the collaboration, it is a cooperation, and it is also coordination. I feel that today there are more than 15 colleges come together to making this webinar. I wish you all the best for this webinar, and on behalf of the NAC, I wish you all the best for the next 7 days for this faculty development program. And आप एक कदम क्वालिटी के लिए आगे बढ़े, आपका साथ और एक कदम आगे बढ़ने के लिए NAC तत्पर रहेगा। विश यू ऑल द बेस्ट। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सर। एक्रेडिटेशन फ्रेमवर्क एंड को वैल्यूज ऑफ NAC शीर्षक तहत हमने गहराई से प्रस्तुत किए डॉक्टर गणेश जी हेगड़े, एडवाइजर NAC बेंगलोर। आपके विचार हमने सुने। हमारी सहयोगी संस्था DJ बालपानी संगमनेर महाविद्यालय के प्राचार्य डॉक्टर देशमुख जी से हम विनम्र निवेदन करते हैं कि आप डॉक्टर गणेश जी हेगड़े जी के वक्तव्य का सारांश प्रस्तुत करें। डॉक्टर देशमुख जी, आप कृपया अनम्यूट कीजिए।
No, we can only ask them to unmute.
डॉक्टर देशमुख, डॉक्टर देशमुख जी,
नाव किती बतायचे? लक्ष्मी, पद्मा, मल्ला,
डॉक्टर देशमुख
कश का पाहिजे? डायरेक्टरी दिसली।
डॉक्टर नदाफ जी, कंटिन्यू मैडम, यू काइंडली कंटिन्यू।
थैंक यू सर। 7 दिवसीय कार्यक्रम से जुड़े देश के तमाम शिक्षक और विद्वज्जनों तक यह बात पहुंचाना हमारा एक परम कर्तव्य है कि इस कार्यक्रम की रूपरेखा से लेकर आयोजन के विविध आयामों से हमेशा की तरह हौसला बढ़ाने वाले आप हैं ज्ञान प्रबोधिनी मंडल श्री मल्लिकार्जुन और श्री चेतन मंजू देसाई महाविद्यालय के उपाध्यक्ष आदरणीय श्री चेतन देसाई। आपसे हम नम्र निवेदन करते हैं, आप इस सुगठित कार्यक्रम के लिए हमें संदेश
सांग ऑन करी नका तू त्यांनी चालू करतो फास्ट टर्न टाकाने चला
Chetan sir, please unmute. Chetan sir. Chetan sir, can you hear me? Okay.
I can very well hear you.
Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
You want me to say something?
Yes, sir.
I would only welcome all of you for this wonderful webinar that's going on. It was a beautiful lecture from Mr. Ganesh Hegde, and I hope everything and everyone enjoys this webinar, and all the best to you all.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much, sir.
Hello.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. All the best.
Thank you, sir. हम आगे चलते हैं। इस 7 दिवसीय संकाय विकास कार्यक्रम के उद्घाटन कार्यक्रम की प्रमुख अतिथि के रूप में हमारे बीच उपस्थित होने वाली थी आदरणीय प्राचार्य डॉक्टर राधिका नायक। किसी कारणवश आप हमारे बीच यहाँ पर उपस्थित नहीं है। वी आर मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द फर्स्ट सेशन फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम के प्रथम सत्र की ओर हम चलते हैं। प्रथम सत्र की वक्ता है डॉक्टर उषा मुकुंदन, डायरेक्टर HVPS झुंझुनवाला कॉलेज मुंबई। आपका विषय है करिकुलर एस्पेक्ट बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस इन करिकुलम प्लानिंग एंड इम्प्लीमेंटेशन इन ऑटोनमस कॉलेज। आपका परिचय दे रहे हैं डॉक्टर संजय दलवी जी, संगमनेर कॉलेज फिजिक्स डिपार्टमेंट के एचओडी। सर आपका स्वागत। Dr. Sanjay Dalvi, please unmute yourself. Dr. Sanjay Dalvi.
Respected resource person of today's first technical session, Madam Dr. Usha Mukundan, we are great to have you here. You have very rich experience in managing a very, very big institute of Mumbai. So you have been visiting to various colleges as a part of NAC process. And I'm sure all participants who are there in the faculty development program are eagerly waiting for you. Madam was principal.
Sir, can we cut short the introduction and begin the session?
Okay, ma'am.
Is it okay?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because I want to hear Thakur Desai sir also.
Okay, fine.
We both will be complimenting each other.
Yeah.
So is that okay?
Absolutely fine, ma'am. No problem whatsoever. So on behalf of all the 10 colleges and also your college, ma'am, I welcome you to this faculty development program. Yeah. And I'm sure we will enjoy your presentation and everybody will carry something from here and they would contribute to their respective colleges. Ma'am, over to you. Thank you very much.
ओके नमस्कार, मैं अपना स्क्रीन शेयर करूंगी। उसके पहले आप सभी को धन्यवाद देती हूँ कि मुझे यहाँ पर आपने बुलाया, क्योंकि सभी से हम कुछ ना कुछ सीख के जाते हैं। और मुझे लगता है गणेश हेगड़े सर is our biggest motivator, and he always has very positive thoughts, and it has been a great working experience with him. And NAC has given us direction. I think all colleges have got direction as to how we can excel in our own way. And I'm very thankful to the Mallikarjun College and to the principal, Dr. Aftab and Mr. Nadaf. और कहते हैं ना, जब भी कोई कठिनाई आती है और उसको हम सॉल्व कर देते हैं, तो जरूर आप जो भी काम कर रहे हैं उसमें हमेशा सफल रहेंगे। तो इतनी आपकी तकनीकी जो आपको दुविधा आई, उसके बावजूद आप देख रहे हैं कि इतने लोग जुड़े हुए हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं हम साथ साथ चल रहे हैं। तो इसके साथ मैं अपना शुरू करती हूँ। a topic which is one of the very favorite to me. I'm sharing my screen with you. Can you please make me co-host? Yeah, thank you. Can I have the full screen, please? Yeah. Just 1 minute. So another 15 to 20 minutes, what I'm going to discuss about is the various aspects which will be covered in curricular aspects. Mr. Nadaf, you made me co-host. I'm not able to move the slide.
Madam, we can see your slide very well.
Yeah, but I need the next slide. Okay. Now, as you can see that for universities and autonomous colleges, this particular criteria, we are going to talk about the best practice in each of the key indicators. But as a preamble, I thought I'd just mention about it. The autonomous colleges are little privileged to be able to design their own curriculum and development. So, but whenever you have freedom, you also have a lot of responsibility. Earlier, we could easily say, well, the curriculum comes from the university, so thereby we are not able to do much. Having said that, because you can design your own curriculum, you need to see what you're really going to do with the curriculum and how it is going to benefit your stakeholders, especially your student community. So the maximum marks are given for this key indicator, that is 50, and total marks for autonomous colleges for this particular criteria is 150. And for affiliated college, it is 100. Then academic flexibility, 40, curriculum enrichment, 20, and feedback system. 20. Let us see how we can, what are the different best practices. All these have been compiled from various SSRs of autonomous colleges, which are high performing institutions, and they are doing well. At the same time, some of the lessons which we have learned as an autonomous college as to what will benefit our students. Dr. Hegde very clearly mentioned that there are 5 core values of NAAC, and you have to integrate all these within your curriculum. And curriculum is not just a syllabus. Syllabus is one part of the curriculum. Now, this entire criteria, that is the first one, curriculum design and development, which carries 50 marks, has 3 key indicators in it. First one is, how is the curriculum developed? And what type of content you are in. Now let's move on from here. Okay. Now, some of the best practices is we cannot be copying anything which some other college is doing. You must be able to define what your students are requiring, what are the local needs which are there, at the same time, how you are preparing your students so that they will contribute to nation development and they will contribute to, or they will have global competencies. So your curriculum design, one of the best practice is looking at the employment opportunities for your students and whether they will be able to set up their own business. That means entrepreneurship. Now UGC has come up with very clear guidelines. So when you are designing the curriculum, at that time you must be aware of this learning outcome based curriculum framework, which is available on the UGC website. At the same time, when you are looking at it, this will give you an edge. That means if your student is trying to move, when I'll talk about choice-based credit system or taking a program from somewhere else, at that time, if there is some type of equivalence, then for the student, it will become easier. Now, the autonomous colleges also have an opportunity wherein the curriculum is designed by very illustrious board of studies. They have given a guideline as to how the board of studies can be there. Now, one of the best practice I have seen is, depending upon a particular course, they have invited some experts who have experience in that particular field. Say, for example, now you have machine learning or deep learning, or you have artificial intelligence, post-harvest technology. In each and every subject, there are some very niche areas. And if you want somebody to come and give inputs, then you need a person who is an experienced person in that field. So your board of studies can have invitees from such niche areas who are experienced in these areas. Now, what are the program outcomes in general? Are you preparing your graduates? That means as a graduate, I should be able to communicate properly. And when I say communication, it doesn't mean only in English. It can be in a local language also. But communication has to be very clear. They should be able to think critically, whether we are developing that critical thinking. They must be able to work in diverse teams, because now the days of individual leadership is not there. It is team leadership, which is very important. Then they should be ethical. integrity. So when we'll be talking about the cross-cutting, you are training these students for these program outcomes. Then whether they are conscious about the environment sustainability. There are 17 sustainable goals for which India is also one of the partners. So as a graduate or a postgraduate, whether our curriculum is a training for all in these aspects, then it will be specific. That means if there is a BA in history, so concept or those required knowledge in that particular subject is defined in program specific outcome. And then course outcome for each of the courses, what type of outcomes you are expecting. But what is very important is to map each one of them and some type of matrix. Some colleges have developed a matrix by means of which you can measure, and at the same time you can find out which are the goals which you have achieved, where are the lacunae, and how you can fill those lacunae. Now, when we say regular revision of syllabus and content development is very important. You might have a syllabus which is very good, but suppose your content is not available or you have not developed a good robust content, then obviously the implementation of that curriculum will not be proper. So a best practice would be, along with syllabus revision, there should also be the entire team working on good content development. Now, these best practices can further go in the same area, like proper teaching plan is available, wherein you know how the content is going to be delivered and whether it will cater, or rather the students will be able to absorb it in the given period of time. The teaching plan should be properly documented. The academic calendar which is made, whether it is in synchronization with that, and record of class test, quiz, presentation, because we are talking about outcome. A student may not be very good in writing a big subjective answer, but he may know the knowledge and he may be able to apply it. So these are the skills that we have to hone in the student. And then your teachers may also be representing in the board of studies of other autonomous colleges or in the university. So this will be your best practice, because your teachers are contributing to the development of content in other autonomous college. As said earlier, collaboration is the way forward. We can always exchange notes with each other as to what type of content will be good for our students. Now, again, autonomous colleges have the opportunity of having really the choice-based credit system in place. In a city like Mumbai, where space is a big constraint, we often say that if I want to offer an elective or I want to give students a buffet system, that means cross-faculty type of credit or subject-specific electives or other electives which are skill-based, then immediately the question of space arises. Now, this pandemic has done a lot of harm to many of us, but it has also made us think once again, there can be alternative methods. So we could develop an alternative method of offering some of these electives which we very much wanted to offer, and that could be done using a blended type of teaching. At the same time, there is access to a lot of e-resources which can be availed of. So when you are planning any course, it is not that you just implement a course immediately. There should be a market research done. So I've seen a best practice that they conduct an elaborate market research and also look whether that curriculum will be effective for the coming couple of years. Maybe you started a program, but within 2 years it lost its sheen and now there is no job opportunity for our student. So it has to be a content which will be like a cross border, wherein if they have done one particular program, they will be able to manage in another system. So there should be some type of market research. You must also find out whether human resources, that means qualified, skilled, and teachers who are highly motivated. They are available and they are also trained for the new content. So there has to be a proper planning before any new curriculum is introduced. Then choice-based credit system, as I mentioned, it's a very good idea, but then we have to find out how feasible it is, and also see if my neighboring college offers a particular program which is useful, then I need not repeat it again. Have the opportunity for the student with the mutual understanding. So I've seen in some places where they can take some credits from that college and some credits which they have already taken in the core subject in our college. Say, for example, you have economics, but you also want them to take up statistics. So, and that is not available in, say, a particular college. So they can have those credits from another college. But then there should be a proper understanding in this aspect. So this is another very good indicator, academic flexibility for an autonomous college. There is a lot of opportunity to experiment on this. Again, on this, I'll elaborate a little bit more a little later. Now, academic flexibility can also be availed of by what you're not able to do within the curriculum. There could be value-added courses. Now, these value-added courses, depending on the demography of the student, can be offered to them with fees or without fees. Now, both of them have, it's a double-edged sword. Anything which comes free doesn't have value. At the same time, sometimes if the students are good, because of the money component, they are not able to take the course. So we, the institution or the leadership or the HOD or whoever is the deciding person can think it could be a merit-based. So there can be some type of scholarship which can be given, or some type of incentive, like you finish the course in a given period of time and you contribute by teaching that course to another peer, some peer group. That is another best practice which can be evolved, and that is another way of doing. Now, certificate courses should be of minimum 30 hours duration. It cannot be just a couple of YouTubes and questions, because through this, you want them to learn some type of skill or value addition to your entire curriculum, which otherwise your content will become very heavy and an average student may find it little difficult. So you can offer these certificate courses of different durations, and the students can be given an option to choose them from different faculties. So we have had students from BCom who are interested in a small course in kitchen gardening. Similarly, our students were interested in some of the financial aspects, so they went ahead and did a program in Tally. So you can do something like that. And I've seen in some of the good colleges where they have this type of opportunity, but in some colleges, they made it as one of the practice where a student has to compulsorily take some type of certificate course other than their own faculty. This should be properly monitored, because the monitoring system is very important. So you must have a record of all the students who have completed the course in given period of time, and some type of evaluation is essential to show that indeed they have imbibed what has been taught to them. Now, Swayam is a platform which is offering a large number of courses, but it's very essential that for Swayam there should be I've seen there are some colleges which have mentors, and these mentors take care of whatever difficulties the students come across, and they ensure that evaluation is fair and they complete the course and they benefit out of the course. Similarly, Coursera, earlier Coursera used to offer the programs without a certificate. If you wanted it free, that means you will only get a course completion or no certificate will be awarded. But there are some excellent courses which are available, and they are in all cross faculties. But now during lockdown, one of the best practice I've seen is Coursera has offered this program to colleges. If they have approached them, and about 4,000 plus courses have been offered, which can be taken. But little bit I would like to tell here, since they are all MOOCs, so it is massive online education. So most of the courses are those which are employment based, or where you need large number of people to be trained in a given period of time. Similarly, NPTEL best practice, I've seen many colleges having their own, what you can see, they are the sub-center, and through IIT, this is conducted. And when you're talking about virtual lab is another best practice, which definitely now with lockdown coming in, I'm very sure 50% of the labs may be virtual and 50% may be those which will have face-to-face work. Undergraduate project work. Now, undergraduate project work as a best practice is if it would be given credit, and this undergraduate project work also may result in innovations, it may result in startups, and it will also bring in some type of financial resources being mobilized through a DBT Star College scheme. So our observation as a best practice, it has been that many students enjoy doing project work because it is an independent work. They can think about it, they plan, and they excel in it. And to the extent that because of these undergraduate project work, one outcome we have seen that they have been preferred during campus placement because they show, or rather they developed the quality of organization, planning, implementation, teamwork, and meticulous completion of their work. And they also learn how to communicate because they give presentations, they go for competitions. So these become a large number of outcomes which otherwise we would have thought as a regular undergraduate project work. Now, how can you enrich the curriculum and why it is essential? Again, we go back to the core values. Very important. You need to be a sensitive person. You must be full of empathy. At the same time, you must take care of whatever is around you. So when you say about value-based education, so it can be a part of the curriculum, because sometimes what happens if you offer it as a separate unit, as a value-based system, then students may not each one of them will take it up. But if some component is included, embedded within the curriculum, which autonomous colleges have an advantage, then it will become beneficial. So professional ethics, because you need people who have integrity, honesty, and whichever profession they take, they should be very ethical in that. Then gender, they should be very sensitive to all the gender issues, human values, environment and sustainability. I'll come to these in my next slide. Now, I've seen colleges where they have introduced values within their own curriculum. Say, for example, if they teach the life cycle of honeybee, then they integrate how it collects the pollen, how it collects honey, not for itself, but for our consumption. The type of networking, the way division of labor, how they all come together, how they live, ants. Similarly, you can have within an inflorescence. So there can be many examples which can be within, when you're teaching the course, you could give example of a cell, dedication, determination, and how it performs all the functions, and at the same time, flexibility. Environmental sustainability, it is one of the important components which is embedded. Again, environmental studies is an integral part of any program, because we have to be very conscious about what is happening, and whatever changes we are seeing here is because we have not really taken care of the environment. Now, value-added courses, now these are required when you're mapping your program outcomes and you're talking about communication skills, writing skills, computer skills, presentation skills, leadership, negotiation, how to be very considerate, and skills related to the core subject. So if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, they can say travel and tourism. It could be an integral part of any program like history, or it can be philosophy, yoga in a big way. So philosophy can have yoga as one of their programs. So I've seen in some colleges, they've introduced that as a part of the curriculum. Now, I would like to emphasize a little bit more on these field projects. Now, field projects, again, we have to think about the students who don't have much money. The moment everyone wants to go to far places, but then the amount which is there, and you all give it away to some tour organizer. But I think this can be a very big learning process. And credits can be awarded. How? Now, field projects can be a part of your subject, can be taught in the field. And you need not go very far. You can choose any area which is nearby and tell them, or they learn by observing. Let them keep very good records. Let them jot down what they've read. And if they have some, what you can say, observations which are very relevant, which they can make, and we can take their feedback to incorporate in the curriculum. Similar, and this is possible in each and every subject, because to begin with, people thought it's only botany, zoology, or some history, geography people who go out for field trips, and ultimately the field trips are for being together. But then you also need to teach them teamwork. Best practice, one of the best practice is to have field projects more often, some component of the curriculum being delivered through field projects, like you take them to a recording studio, show them each and every component, they know how it is monitored, and many students are interested in future to take that up as their own profession. Now, internship is another thing which is being, what you can say, promoted. Internship was more prevalent in engineering courses because, or in polytechnic courses, since it became an integral part of their program. I always feel that medical is one profession where they learn by doing. That is why you end up having very good doctors. I wish all subjects, even though we are mass education, there could be some way that students get an opportunity to learn where the things are being really done. Because one area of discontent which the industry always has is that students are not employable. There is a gap between academics and industry. So now we have an opportunity to have industry partners with us, and we are requesting them to take these undergraduate students for internship. So I've seen one of the best practices, some programs like BMS, they make compulsory internship for the students. For a city like Mumbai, it's a little easy because you have a lot of malls and retail stores where these students go, and some of them end up getting jobs there because as interns, they were very good. Government of India has also come up with this excellent scheme of Intershala. Only thing is you have to be a little careful, or you have to help your students in choosing these internships, and the students benefit out of it. The students can be sent out with a formal letter. I've seen some colleges sending them to diagnostic laboratories or market research, which is done because see, MBA students ultimately do end up in these market research organizations. And these are the things, if they learn in the field, they are able to compile, statistically analyze the data, then it becomes value addition. And in an autonomous institute, if it is a structured one, then credits can be given to them. Now, I've seen one of very good best practice, which we are also trying to emulate. That is internship for PG student for an entire semester. Because PG students do get internship in many of the very coveted research institutes like BRC, ICER, or CCMB, BHU, and many industry. But the only condition they put is 6 months. They must be available for an internship. So the college has to plan the entire academic program for these students in the proper manner. The curriculum has to be designed in this way. And at the same time, they have to develop a rubrics to evaluate these students who are going for internship for 6 months. It has to be a continuous evaluation. And the evaluation has to be done both from the institution where these are going, that is the one who is mentoring, and our institution who is sending them. So teachers have to be made mentors for few students, and they have to be regularly visiting the institution, finding out whether the students are doing well, and there should be some type of evaluation, either monthly or a reporting, proper structured reporting. And ultimately these students have to submit elaborate research project, and they have to make a presentation on that. So the credits can be allotted for that, only how to manage those 6 months and how to take care of the remaining core component within the remaining 3 semesters is a challenge. But if you decide nothing is challenge, you will definitely do, because ultimately you are looking at the benefit of the student. And most of the students who do internship, we have seen that they are absorbed by those institutions. Now feedback. Now this feedback is mainly for curriculum. Why you need feedback for autonomous college? It is very, very relevant, because these feedbacks are your pointers, because they are going to tell whether what you had conceived or what you thought about, these are the outcomes, but you are not able to achieve. Then if you analyze the feedback properly and you get good outcome from that, you can incorporate those in your curriculum when you're developing or you're revising your syllabus. Now here the employer is very important. Students who have passed out but are working in positions also give good feedback. Now who are the teachers? The peers. So peers means teachers from other colleges. They need not be from your university. If you're very proactive, you can send it to other university teachers who are your friends. Ask them for a very, very rational evaluation of the entire thing, so that your feedback, whatever you get, should be properly analyzed. That means each and every department should analyze the feedback. And of course, the I2AC would develop a system wherein there is a structured feedback, because your questionnaire cannot be something which is copied from somewhere else. It has to be designed by your entire team to find out what you really want to achieve from that feedback. And once you have analyzed the feedback, you have to collate it, and the HOD and all the faculty members have to really do a brainstorming session. And when the BOS, before the BOS meet, I think they should all communicate it through proper email, so that when you revise the syllabus, you take care of all the feedbacks which you have got, so that your curriculum becomes more robust. So with this, I would like to thank UGC for the Paramarsh scheme that we have got, and due to which we are able to mentor, and it's a learning process, two-way learning process. NAC for giving us the excellent direction, and the entire team of I2AC, which is very enthusiastic. So we are all learning with each other, and I would like to thank all the collaborating institutions and all academicians who are present here today for the patient listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam.
Yes, please. Thank you. Was audible?
Yes, madam.
Okay. Thank you.
Curricular aspects, curriculum planning and implementation, पाठ्यक्रम योजना और कार्यान्वयन, स्वायत्त संस्थाओं के लिए उसकी क्या क्या दिशाएं हो सकती है, उसके कितने आयाम हो सकते हैं, हमने विचार सुने। डॉक्टर उषा मुकुंदन, डायरेक्टर HVPS झुंझुनवाला कॉलेज मुंबई, मैडम हम आपके प्रति धन्यवाद अदा करना चाहते हैं, बहुत बहुत हम आभारी हैं।
थैंक यू मैडम।
हम आगे चलते हैं। श्री मल्लिकार्जुन और श्री चेतन मंजू देसाई महाविद्यालय के सम्माननीय और आदरणीय अध्यक्ष श्री रामदास मजाड़कर सर, इनका सहयोग और इनका चेतनादायी मार्गदर्शन संस्था के लिए बहुत बहुत सालों के लिए रहा है। सर, आपका संदेश हमेशा हमारे लिए प्रेरणादायी है।
Hello.
Celebrate together. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Now you can see. But can you see
Please
the
repeat it. Please repeat the video. Couldn't see it, couldn't hear it.
Can you see the video? Then
Couldn't see the video, couldn't hear it.
I am Mr. Madalkar, Chairman of Jnana Bhogini Mandal. Mr. K.B. Gaonkar, the Secretary of our Jnana Bhogini Mandal, and our member, Mahendra Desai. Welcome all of you for this
खुर्ची गणपती असं बस ना डायरेक्ट त्याच्यावर मस्त पैकी यायला
ICSC cell of our college is organizing faculty program, faculty development program in association with 8 institutes of international repute from different parts of India. First time collaborated with 8 national institutions. Time to learn from each other and collaborate together. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
तुझा व्हिडिओ दिसो ना.
मल्लिकार्जुन महाविद्यालय के आदरणीय अध्यक्ष श्री मजालकर जी के संदेश के बाद हम द्वितीय सत्र की ओर चलते हैं। द्वितीय सत्र के वक्ता है डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र ठाकुर देसाई, डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ ज्योग्राफी, गोगटे कॉलेज रत्नागिरी, और आपका विषय है करिकुलर एस्पेक्ट, बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस इन करिकुलर प्लानिंग एंड इम्प्लीमेंटेशन।
हेलो
Hello. Hello.
यस
Hello. Am I audible?
हेलो
आप सुन सकते हैं मुझे?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, yes.
इंट्रोडक्शन करके हेलो
दिसता जाल्यार दुसरो इथे पळया न्ही म्हाका हांगच्यान कळना न्ही whether you can see or not.
डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र ठाकुर देसाई का परिचय दे रहे हैं। प्रोफेसर गायकवाड़, प्रोफेसर अरुण गायकवाड़, एचओडी ऑफ कॉमर्स, संगमनेर कॉलेज।
हेलो आई एम ऑडिबल मैडम?
यस
Yeah,
सर।
yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm really honored to have an opportunity to introduce to Dr. Surendra Thakur Desai. He is the Associate Professor and Head Department of Geography and Rural Development in the RP Gogte and RV Joglekar College, Ratnagiri. Sir has been completed his MSc and PhD. He has been teaching geography at undergraduate level as well as the postgraduate level last 25 years. His area of research are coastal geomorphology and livelihood study, environmental sciences.
Sir, can we make it brief?
Yes, yes. He has completed 3 major and 5 minor research projects, and he is rendering the consultancy. And the last one, which is very important, he is a research guide, and he has guided near about 4 MPhil and 2 PhD students, and that student are awarded. And very important, that is he handled the charge of IQAC as a coordinator in the 4th year during the 4th cycle period. I am requesting to Dr. Surendra Thakur Desai kindly address to the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Just bear with the video quality. I have moved away from my home to get a good signal. Okay. Actually, we all listened to very elaborative talk by Dr. Usha Mukundan, and I will be continuing the same area, of course, for affiliated colleges. And because many of the colleges, they are in the affiliated system, and then they have to deal with the NAC criteria 1 scenario. So I would like to share few things that we came across or we could think of during our fourth cycle preparations, as well as the things that many colleges have already done. So if we can share these things, then we can improvise upon them. What I feel is that in the difference between affiliated and autonomous colleges is that actually autonomous colleges can bring in many things to the academics. In affiliated system, the academics is very rigid because university has already decided many things, and therefore many other times academics is very rigid, but there is a lot of scope in the co and extracurricular activities, and many colleges they are very good in organization of these. So what I feel is that we have to go other way around. We have to take academics to the co and extracurricular activities, so that the lacunas or the loopholes or the opportunities that we miss being in affiliated systems can be backed up or matched if we go to the other activities. As far as the new latest manual is concerned, there are few changes, like they have removed parents from the feedback mechanism, and they have now kept only 4 channels of feedback or 4 stakeholders in the feedback. But we can divide the criteria 1 into 3 different areas where we can separately think of best practices. Now the theme of the whole webinar being benchmarking of best practices, I would rather discuss how really 3 different areas we have for benchmarking or for designing the practices. Now, when we say benchmarking of the best practices, we, as in research methodology, we do, it's like we have to think of where we are, and then that is what we usually call as benchmarking, and then we have to think for the future and uh, uh, think a bit or discuss and set some goal where we will be reaching through the process of quality upgradation. Not necessarily only the cycle, but it's a being continuous process, how really year by year we will progress. Now, one area where we have to think of best practices is, of course, the academic curriculum or the curricular planning and delivery. Now, curricular planning and delivery is one area. Second area is designing the programs for internships. Now, internships need not be integral part of our courses or the programs that we have in colleges, but still we have to think that how really we can integrate the experiential learning mechanisms into the practice, and then think of designing some mechanisms. Then another area where we have to think of is the participation of teachers in curriculum development, evaluation, and planning at the university level. So these are 3 different areas, and we have to think of it. I always feel that the basic idea behind NAAC is that everything has to be a process rather than an event. Now, we have been doing many things. We have been practicing many things, but it happens that these become the events. We can connect the events, we can have a directional mechanism, and then that will become a process. So in criteria 1 also, you can think of a cycle or a circle. I feel that, I mean, even in the manual, even if the feedback is at the last, as Mukundan madam has rightly pointed out, feedback is also an input. So it's not always that feedback has to be taken at the end of planning and delivery. Actually, we should start with planning and delivery from the feedback that we received from different stakeholders. Now, in affiliated system, the feedback can be regarding the skill set, the feedback can be regarding the style of presentation or curriculum delivery, and the feedback can be, of course, regarding the delivery of the curriculum also. These are 3 different things, I feel. For example, a feedback may bring about something like students require more attention or more time to be spent for typical units. Now this kind of feedback is important in curriculum planning, because when you design your semester and when you try to assign how really you will be completing your given curriculum within stipulated time, you can space your units accordingly. And for that, actually, what we need to do is take feedback of that also usually. And for that, we have to very meticulously design our feedback form. So one can be planning curriculum delivery or spacing of curriculum delivery and time schedule. Second can be methodology. Now it's an era of technology, and we always feel that technology helps, but I always feel that there are a few limitations to the technology. The best example I always like to give is that PowerPoints are helpful, the animations are helpful, everything is helpful. But drawing a very clumsy or very complicated diagram on blackboard is more helpful, because when we draw a diagram on a blackboard, actually that speaks a lot about how really the things develop. And drawing a complicated thing is a skill that has to be transferred or attributed to the students. And therefore what I always feel is that these kind of techniques need to be incorporated while planning. So students give very good feedback. Like one of the faculty, my colleague, received a feedback from students that you start 70% of your curriculum using PPTs, which you could have already shared with us, and you could have gone beyond the PPTs. So this is very important feedback. Like we have what we call in modern day as flipped classrooms. So students already have learned something on their own, which is pre-designed or which is predefined by the faculty, and then we go beyond what they have learned, we confirm it, we fix it, and we go beyond it also. So this is how feedback can play an important role in curriculum planning, as well as different methods of curriculum delivery, because different courses, different units are designed to bring in different skill sets, and therefore the methods can be very different. Field visit can be a very good method of learning also. It need not always be a fun or a supplementary thing. Actually, field visit itself can be a method of complete learning. A unit can be taught in a field visit of 2 days for 5-6 hours if we design, and a complete unit for the subjects which are related to field, we can do that. So these are this is how feedback can think of delivery, feedback can think of the mechanism. And lastly, when we say curriculum, students always find some gaps. They feel that I would have loved to learn this, which was not taught. And that is more important. Additionally, also, the thing is that the entrepreneurs or the employers who are employing our students also give some feedback. Then the peer team or the peers from the faculty members, they give some feedback. Now, these feedbacks are more important to design the add-on courses. Add-on courses need to be designed based on the students' needs or the feedback or the needs that have arrived out of feedback. Then they become a great success. Otherwise, the problem is that many a times add-on courses are there, but they hardly yield something. And then if we plot the enthusiasm curve of participating students in add-on courses, it's a fast diminishing curve. To avoid this, what we have to do is that we can always design skill-based add-on courses. 60-40 formula is has to be remembered. So it's a cycle. And then every year you can improvise upon planning. Every year you can improvise upon the type of delivery, the methods that you used in curriculum delivery. So this is how we can have every year as a benchmark. So feedback and self-assessment will provide a benchmark for our curriculum delivery and planning. This is one area where upon we can think, and this can be a best practice. But for this, I mean, the curriculum planning and delivery has to start if we are planning for academic year 2021, it has to start in the academic year 1920 itself. I mean, we have to think of the feedback in February and March and work upon that feedback and go for curriculum planning before the end of the academic year, so that from day one of the next academic year, we can implement the curriculum planning and delivery. So it's not yearly process, it's more than a year. You have to add a quarter, earlier quarter to that. And that is how curriculum planning and delivery can be done as a best practice. LMS can be of great help to this. Now, teachers are very enthusiastic to participate in various boards and panels and committees at university level, which are associated with curriculum planning, delivery, and evaluation. Now, what I feel is that, okay, it's a part of our duty also, it's a part of honor also, but how really we bring in the change and how really we document the contribution. Now, for that, I think we have to be a bit formal also. I mean, if we recommend something in BOS, then it has to be minuted. Written communications, they help a lot. And I know, I mean, I am working with an university which has around 700 colleges, affiliated colleges. So it's very difficult. It's only hardly 8 to 10 people who will be in BOS. And rest of the faculty members will not be part of it. Still, we can participate. We can give a concise summary of the feedback that we have received from the students to the university, and we can see to it that some action is taken. I will give you one example. Actually, in commerce faculty, different subjects the students have to deal with, and their level of difficulty is different, or it is felt differently by students. So in last year semester 6 examination timetable, usually the papers were fixed according to the traditions. But we received a feedback from our students that economics, business economics is very tough for us. And if you have business economics as first paper itself in the timetable, then actually that creates, I mean, that discourages students a lot, and therefore it affects the papers that they deal later on. And so we gave this feedback to the university authorities, to the controller of exams, and and it was worked out that business economics should not be the first paper. It can be at the fag end of the examination, and that actually worked out. So it was a simple thing. In curriculum planning, delivery, evaluation is also an integral part. And so this is how kind of feedbacks faculty members can give in criteria 1 in affiliated system also. Cross-cutting issues is something that we have to go beyond classrooms. Classrooms are good. We can select examples, but academics can be very well integrated with co and extracurricular activities because they are handled by our colleagues only, and therefore actually they will provide the learning experiences related to inculcation of ethics, values, the equality, justice, all these kind of things. And I feel that it is the experience that affects, or that has more lingering effect rather than just listening to something. So we can organize learning experiences related to these ethics, and actually there, like a mathematics department of one college has organized learning experiences which were related to ethics, which were related to environment. Now mathematics hardly in normal cases, mathematics is hardly thought to have any reference to these, but still they could organize many things through experiences. So experiential learning can be a part for inculcating the values and cross-cutting issues. Now cross-cutting issues can be brought in anywhere. Environment can be brought in all the natural sciences, as well as subjects like humanities, and even in commerce, like you have issues in economy versus ecology part. So this is how we can integrate many things, and a best practice can be at least one cross-cutting issue will be dealt in every course by every faculty. and it can be pre-decided, and a whole calendar, academic calendar of the college will have reference to all the cross-cutting issues, and we'll have programs, activities specifically designed to deal with specific cross-cutting issues, and in which 100% of the student community will participate. So this can be a very good practice if it is very well planned, and the outcomes will be wonderful. National service scheme and activities like that are supposed to take care, but we can integrate academics with these things. And then the third area is that we have internships. Now, many a times in traditional courses like BA, BSc, BCom, there may not be a scope for internship in affiliated system. In some courses that are so-called professional courses, which are most of the time self-funding courses, there can be a provision for internships. But still, if there is no provision for internship, we can make internship as a part of our learning. It's always not that students will work for marks. Students will work for benefit, as I always say. If they feel that this is something that helps us, if they feel that if this is something that benefits us, then they will definitely work. One experiment was done by the commerce faculty vice principal in my own college. He asked all his first year students that in summer vacations, you choose any place where you will like to work for 8 days. If you can't find any, we will help you, but you choose, and the college will give official letter to the organization or agency or the person, and you can work there for 8 days. You will not get anything, but the college will request your agency to give you a letter of appreciation. And I'm very happy to say that actually we had around 390 commerce students in FY BCom, and out of those 362 students completed internship on their own. Now college had very little to invest into it. Actually students searched for their own avenues. They went to the people, they asked if they can go for internships, and they worked in around 300 different agencies. Now, I tell you that as Mukundan madam has said, that internships are easy in metro cities because there are a lot of opportunity. Now, I come from a place which is very small place. There are no great business districts, no great industry, but still the experience is more important. It need not be a very large, gigantic experience. You can have a small experience, but it can be a beginning. And so the vice principal has only said that, okay, you come with a certificate that you have completed internship when you will come here for admission to SY. It was not made compulsory, but it was a great success. And then the students asked that by themselves that, okay, even the next year we can go for such kind of internships. Now, this is how we can create opportunities for students. There was no credit, there was nothing beyond a piece of paper which was like a certificate or letter of appreciation given by the agency in which they went for the internship. So these can be best practices. I know an engineering college. Now engineering colleges are in affiliated systems have limitations for internships, but that engineering college has made a reputation that they put 100% of their students for internship for at least 15 days during their BE program. And the record that they have maintained showed, now it's an engineering college, so it can be a bit better for them, but still 72% of the students were employed by the same people who engaged them as interns. And this is very good ratio. Now the ratio can be different for traditional arts, commerce, science colleges. It can be a bit less for arts faculty colleges. It can be more for science faculty, maybe more for students doing accountancy and working with some chartered accountants for internship, but still we can think of. So I feel that there are 3 different areas in which we can think of best practices in curriculum planning and development. And all this is part of learning. Now, the one area which I had purposefully left behind, and there is a specific question, is continuous internal evaluation, CIE. Now, as Mukundan madam has said that when in a closed system, you have specific and rigid provisions for evaluation. But in open systems, many a times it happens that there are no specific provisions for evaluations, and you have to design novel and your own provisions for evaluation. That will help actually you and your students to learn about how to gain some more information about the learning outcomes, because it is related to how the learning outcomes are achieved. So achievement of learning outcomes can be judged through internal evaluations. In the university I teach, internal evaluation has very little scope in traditional courses, but still internal evaluation can be integral part of curriculum planning for different purposes. Like we have to think of classification of students like advanced learners and slow learners in criteria 2. Now, what can be the criteria for that? Now, these the activities of internal evaluations that we do in novel ways, in different ways, skill-based or attainment-based evaluations that we do in criteria 1 can help us for criteria 2 also. So this is how we can think of benchmarking for different institutes in criteria 1. In affiliated system, there are limitations, but as all educational experts always say, that curriculum is something that is bare minimum. I mean, you have to complete it compulsorily, but that is not the end, or that is not the limit to what you teach and how you teach. So we can add to what you teach in form of add-on courses or short-term courses, and we can add to how to teach using different techniques and all. And I always feel that very sincere feedback and more sincere acceptance of the feedback by faculty is the key to criteria 1 for at least affiliated colleges, because unless we consider feedback as something very very useful tool and we accept even adverse feedback, there is hardly any scope for upgradation in curriculum planning and delivery. So even if it's 141 and 142 in curriculum planning criteria 1, still we can start all the process using feedback. And so I say all that it's a circle. We start with planning, implementation, go to feedback, and again work upon that feedback and plan for next year. So this is what I would have loved to, or rather I would have liked to share with you. I thank the organizers for providing me the opportunity, and also Mukundan madam, so that we can discuss and keep the talks exclusive to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, हमने आपके विचार सुने, तहे दिल से हम आपके प्रति आभारी हैं। सभी शिक्षक जनों से हम ये कहना चाहते हैं कि प्रश्न तो बहुत आए हैं हमारे पास। डॉक्टर उषा मुकुंदन और डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र ठाकुर देसाई के प्रति शिक्षक जनों ने बहुत सारे, there are so many questions सर, क्योंकि टाइम कंस्टेंट है इसलिए हम सिर्फ 4 ही प्रश्न ले रहे हैं। दोनों वक्ताओं से यह प्रश्न है, दोनों वक्ताओं में से कोई भी इसका जवाब या इसके प्रति उत्तर दे सकते हैं। पहला प्रश्न है, what are the pointer for feedback form from the employers? What are the pointer for feedback form from the employers?
I will say few, and sir will also add in that.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah.
See, you must also pass on the curriculum to the employer. That is one. And then they would also like to know, suppose your student is hired by them. So that is also one way of measuring outcome. If they are able to deliver what they have learned effectively, it means you have achieved at least some of the goals, right? So you have mapped your program outcomes And undergraduate level, it can be just basic, like a BA, BSc, BCom can work in marketing, they can work in a bank, they can work in so many places. Or it can be very specific, say computer science. They will go and work in one particular computer science firm or develop a software. So that is why I said in the beginning, you cannot have a generalized feedback. You have to design a feedback and you have to elicit a response which will be useful for you to develop your curriculum. So you can start with basic questions, whether this curriculum meets the requirements of the industry or it is in keeping with the new requirements. You have some this thing program which is now outdated, but then sometimes what happens, that particular program is required to learn the new program. So how relevant it is to the needs of the industry. Then second, how is the contribution of our student to your team? So that will tell you about his team work, or whether he's a team person or not, or we have taught that person. So you cannot make a general feedback form, but one common feedback form which you can take from the employer is relevance of this is for autonomous college I'm saying, because affiliated college, as you know, but as sir very rightly said, that you can enrich the curriculum of an affiliated college by so many other ways. So you can write in the feedback is how relevant is the curriculum as vis-a-vis the industry requirement.
Yeah.
Then second, are you satisfied or you want to give input? So they also give sometimes very good inputs. See, for us, when we take a feedback immediately when they come for campus placement, and they all said, your students are technically very good, but English communication they must have. See, even though I today said ki communication you can do, the reason being that when they are working for multinational companies, they will to interact with clients, and English being an international language, English communication is very, very important. So now, as I said, based on that, we have made English some part, like at least your writing skills. So if they are science, then we say writing skills in terms of a research paper, or writing in terms of how you review. Say, and for even though you have communication skill or business communication as one of the subject, but they don't take it that seriously. But when you incorporate into a part of your own core subject and tell them based on this feedback, then it becomes more effective. So at least two questions which you must take from employer is how the curriculum is relevant to the industrial need, or there is a gap, and ask them if there is a gap, how it can be bridged. Because see, it's very easy to say students are not employable or your curriculum is not updated, and that we have been listening. And one forum I even said, okay, you have also studied in some college, right? Today you are on the other side and you are saying it is not relevant, but somebody has trained you. So they also say that this is the type, like the way we do a bridge course, or the way we do a remedial program or a bridge to bridge the gap. You can give that. So employer, two questions must be there. How relevant is there, and do you think it's adequacy of the syllabus, and if any new component needs to be added. And please remember, don't think that in these feedback, there should be always very good remarks, because the one who criticizes will give you the best remark, because they are telling us these are the lacunae and you can fulfill. Sir, tumhi atta thoda sanga na.
Actually, I feel that employers can have a complete feedback, and we can have three segments because one is knowledge, skill, and attitude. These three segments. So we can design our feedback to test knowledge, to test the skill set, and to test the attitude. So that will cover everything. That is what I feel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Usha.
One more important thing, all employer may not give. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can ask them, because they are very busy. But if you ask them, you at least give us feedback on these points, then it will be useful.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू मैडम। डॉक्टर उषा मुकुंदन और डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र ठाकुर देसाई, बहुत बहुत आभारी है हम। समय की वजह से और प्रश्न हम नहीं ले पा रहे हैं, लेकिन दूसरे दिन कल इसके ऊपर जो है और भी समय रहा तो हम क्या कर सकते हैं। माननीय वक्ता और सभी प्रतिभागियों के प्रति धन्यवाद प्रकट कर रहे हैं प्रोफेसर आव्हाड थोराट कॉलेज संगम ने। लेकिन उसके पहले फीडबैक फॉर्म भरने के लिए हम सभी सहभागियों से फिर एक बार प्रार्थना करते हैं। फीडबैक चेक बॉक्स में खुल गया है, आप कृपया उसको देख लीजिएगा। एंड रिक्वेस्टिंग प्रोफेसर आव्हाड टू प्रपोज वोट ऑफ थैंक्स फॉर टुडेस रिसोर्स पर्सन। प्रोफेसर आव्हाड। तकनीकी कठिनाइयों के कारण आज हम सही तरीके से आपके साथ जुड़ नहीं पाए और कुछ विलंब के साथ यह फैकल्टी डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम आज का प्रथम सत्र जारी रहा। डॉक्टर उषा मुकुंदन और डॉक्टर सुरेंद्र ठाकुर देसाई, आज दोनों वक्ताओं ने बहुत अच्छी जानकारी दी है। करिकुलर एस्पेक्ट, पहला जो क्राइटेरिया था उसके प्रति बहुत अच्छी जानकारी दी है। हम दोनों वक्ताओं के प्रति आभारी हैं, अभिवादन करते हैं और सभी शिक्षकों से फिर एक बार हम विनती करना चाहते हैं, प्रार्थना करते हैं। चैट बॉक्स में यह लिंक खुल गया है, फीडबैक लिंक खुल गया है, कृपया आप उसे भर दीजिएगा और कल सही समय पर 4 बजे हम आपकी सेवा में दूसरा क्राइटेरिया लेकर हम आ जाएंगे। तब तक के लिए धन्यवाद, नमस्कार।
थैंक यू मैडम।
Thank you. Thank you.
Well done.
सर, कधी
बंद करता है